You know, we often think of God as being the one who can and does do anything. There's something that God cannot do, and it's a good thing that I've discovered that God cannot do. It says in the Bible that it is impossible for God to lie. In Hebrews 6, because God wanted to show his unchangeable purpose even more clearly to the heirs of the promise, he guaranteed it with an oath, so that through two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie, we may, we who have fled for refuge, might have strong encouragement to seize upon the hope set before us. And we've been looking at the subject of hope for a couple of days, but I just want us to be thinking today that we can continue to hope and trust in God because it is impossible for him to lie. He cannot deny himself and cannot deny the promises that he has made. So as we flee to him for refuge, we can have a strong encouragement to seize on to that hope that is set before us. There are people in the Bible that have experienced God's um, sort of hope and him revealing himself, but often at the most desperate of times. And I've noticed that he very often shows himself on a throne at that time. I'm thinking of people like Isaiah when he said, I saw the Lord high and lifted up and his glory filled the temple, or David or Ezekiel, or even the Apostle John on Patmos. And you might sort of say to yourself, well, why does God reveal himself on a throne? Well, it's because God rules from his throne, and no matter what, even if the appearance to the contrary, that God is actually ruling, he is in control. Sometimes everything in us and around us can seem to be out of control, but if we take our refuge in God himself, we find that he ultimately is in control of all things, and we can put our refuge and find our refuge in him and have that strong encouragement to seize hold, to grab hold tightly to the hope that is set before us. And I pray that whatever circumstances you're in today, or that you may find yourself in the future, that you will seize hold of that hope who is God himself. Now that you know this and that I know this, we may find that God allows us to go through perhaps potentially even tougher times than we've ever had before, because he can produce a greater level of maturity, hope and trust in each of us that will move into that direction. So don't be surprised if from a sort of world's point of view things don't get better for you. They may even get more difficult, but that is because God can now produce that greater level of maturity in you, and also can demonstrate a greater glory for himself because of what he chooses to do. So be encouraged and seize hold and grab hold of that hope that is set before you, who is nothing less than Christ himself.